are. Hey, Angie. All right, so we are on our second week of the Sirenalia and our final session of the week. And then we have one on Monday, I believe. So I've got to look at the calendar and get all those Zooms sent out to you, lovely ladies. And to start off with, I'm going to pull an oracle from the Oracle of the Mermaids for our group, see what the mermaids and Selkies want us to know today. Ooh, beautiful. Air, breathing deep, entering into life, exchange of life-bringing energies. Yeah, that's what I definitely need to be doing today. I've got a little bit of a cold, so excuse me for being a little congested. But yeah, I do feel like there's this sense of needing to just let go, needing to release, needing to and not necessarily do this alone, like a sharing of that exhale of the being in community, being with our beloveds of all kinds, whoever they are. And I feel like the mermaids are also saying that that sense of inspiration that we get, right? And we breathe that in and also share that with others. Okay, Angie, I'm going to pull a card for you. Oh, this is beautiful. Coral's wisdom. Colony, delicacy, fragility, works that are created over great periods of time. I know. This one's beautiful too. It reminds me of one of the your characters that you used to create. In the bottom of the deck for you, Imrama. Look at that. Wonder Voyage, Crossing Deep Waters, Pilgrimage, Journey of the Soul. So are you on a journey of the soul, Angie? I think we all are, but I think that card wanted to come out for you too. Okay, 31. It's funny that we didn't get the Selkie card. I don't know, maybe I'll pick one more and see if it comes out. Because there is a card in this deck about the Selkie. Okay. Okay, this is a long one. It's a lot about different kinds of coral. Interesting. And the different colors and their different properties. But it says, how we love these tiny beings who gather and create Poseidon's castles and caves of wisdom. Their intricate underwater towers of red gold and softest pinks have taken over thousands of your human years to create, and yet you destroy them. And yet they offer you so much. Their healing powers are so strong, and they can help all of us, including the mermaids of the present time, connect back to Atlantis, back to Lemuria. They are an ancient living storehouse of memories and wisdoms and collective consciousness of life itself on this planet. Why else would Buddha make coral one of the 7 sacred treasures? For he found it restored his tranquility and serenity even under the most challenging of circumstances. Why else would Poseidon request the coral to create castles for the merfolk? Turn down my music a little bit. To dwell within and learn from, a living building, a wisdom temple that was truly alive. In your Greek mythology, it is said that the coral was formed from the blood falling from Medusa's severed head, and this is reflected in the Greek name for red coral, Gorgia. So it holds her blood, the energy of the most ancient ones, even after they have seemed to pass. And it goes into not to purchase harvested coral. Okay. So coral as a magical talisman to enhance beauty and to ensure protection has long been used. Tune into the coral and see which color comes to you to know what messages these precious tiny creatures are communicating to you. So yeah, if you have this, I would definitely look this up. And I don't know if you have coral jewelry. I mean, I think I might have had some coral on a necklace a long time ago that my mom made for me that had like some Kali and Lakshmi and different like energies infused in it, which is interesting. So Selkies. Ooh, there's so much to say about Selkies, but to begin with, really, and we don't have to take a lot of time to even think about this, but just a quick close your eyes and think about the ways that we've become tamed, that our wildness has been domesticated and tamed, that there's this way in which society, the world, our work, our families of origin in particular, and school, there's all of this energy and pressure about fitting in, about fitting a schedule. And so we lose that wildness of who we really are. And on top of that, then we continue to domesticate ourselves and tame ourselves down and fit. And when we don't fit, then sometimes we end up feeling alone or actually being alone, right? So that in itself, if we think about mermaids and pods and how humans are built, we're not built to be alone. We're not built to be in solitude all the time. We are really built as a communal creature, right? And that our survival was based on it. So there is this connection with Selkies that I really feel is so important for us to make, and to find communities of other Selkies who are being themselves and being in their wildness, being in their fullness, their wholeness, not trying to just be the way that society tells us we're supposed to be: happy and friendly, productive, cooperative. And not to say there's anything against cooperation, but cooperative in the guise of, well, be who I want you to be, do what I want you to do. Obviously this is such a patriarchal framework. That's, what we live in. So when we don't fit in and we don't want to tame down our wildness, we hide a lot of the times, right? It's a very, very difficult place to be. So if you have any reflections on that, you feel free to share what comes up for you. But one of the reasons why Selkie is such an important archetype in this pantheon of mermaid, goddess, magical beings, right? These magical mer beings that Selkie is a Gaelic word that means seal. So literally, when we talk about Selkie, and they're from Ireland, particularly I think Orkney Islands is the origin. They see the Selkie, the seals, as these women and men who live inside the seal skin in the ocean, and then they come to shore and they take their skin off. And then they can be human and walk and live amongst humans but obviously they're more magical. So again, we talked about this with Melusina a little bit, in that, taking a mer-fae being as a consort, wife, whatever, it's like you're either stealing their magic or sharing their magic, but they bring magic, they bring wealth, they bring all of these gifts, right? So they're very coveted. So this is definitely a big part of the Selkie myth, is that in particular, the Selkie women were considered the best wives to have. And the only way you could get them to marry you is by stealing and hiding their skin. So we'll read a story to go into it. But again, so there's so many different dynamics and conversations we can just have about the skin of the Selkie and what that represents, but I would say in this case, it is both her covering, and her way back to the ocean, right? Her way to maybe conceal her magic and still be in her magic. Because the seal skin connection is that magic, is that, her ability to transform and shapeshift. So a little bit about the Selkie males. So there are many myths too about the masculine Selkies, and they are very different in the sense that when they take off their skin, for some reason, they always guard and hide their skins very well in almost a fierce way. So they are not taken. It seems like the Selkie women are oh so trusting. Whole other conversation, right? So part of what the masculine Selkie liked to do was he liked to bewitch and seduce human women. And in particular, he was looking for women that were unsatisfied in their marriages, unsatisfied in their marriage bed. Maybe they had abusive husbands too, whatever. And literally in their mythology, if a woman wanted a Selkie man to come take her away or to come make love to her or have as a lover, she would cry 7 tears into the ocean. So again, here's the number 7. We just see this in so many myths, and in particular myths around ocean, mer beings, the like. Okay, any comments on that? Angie, you think you have the deck actually, and you're already on Etsy. Cool. For coral jewelry. Got it. April, since you're here, I'm going to pull a card for you. And that gives us time to kind of soak in the meaning of Selkie, the masculine and the feminine. This card wants to come flying out. Oh, beautiful. April, you got beauty. Grace, loveliness, integrity of form and spirit. And it's also card number 1. So I feel like there's like this beckoning to return to beauty and the wildness of your beauty, right? Because we're talking about Selkie, that wildness, that untamed, undomesticated self that we really need to explore and express. And you know, a lot of us do express that through beauty because, you know, we can do stuff with our hair, we can do stuff with makeup. And it's interesting how, like, you know, dressing, you know, in your independence or using beauty and makeup is in your independence is pretty, I feel like, I think it's doable. I don't feel like that's something that people get super attacked for anymore. I just feel like if you act a certain way, if you are too independent, if you are, I mean, if you're a woman and too independent, if you are intense, if you're an intense woman, if you have, you know, if you're high maintenance, all of these things, if you are, you know, someone like me that doesn't really necessarily want one man, you know, that's a bad thing. So yeah, Dr. April, oh wow, she's gorgeous. Yes, wild and free. And yes, if we're willing to be vulnerable. And vulnerable can be a wildness in itself, right? Because I don't know, is vulnerability really acceptable? In our circles, it is. I don't know. There's the question. Okay. Beauty, the sensing of something deeply harmonious and pleasing to the eye and to the soul, is a form of great divinity. Beauty in some ways is considered to be an artifice, something that can be approximated and conjured through makeup, hairstyles, behaviors, and other forms of camouflage and cover. But true deep beauty, such as the kind the mermaids know and see, is the kind that emanates out from a soul that knows itself. Right? That's huge. So the Selkie, right? That Selkie part of you, you know, you've had to take off a lot of masks, right? I mean, that illness on that level, what you've been battling is like, there's no space for artifice. There's no space for faking. There is only vulnerability, right? It's very deep and takes a lot of courage. So, you know, in a sense, the Selkie skin is the magic and it's also the cover up of the magic, right? It's a little bit of both. So this is like, how do we, you know, I feel like for you, beauty as this tool of transformation for you, how can you, I'm hearing the word manipulate. It's like manipulating the sacred, but not in a bad way, like using beauty in a form that's wild for you. It says the tools we mermaids have been gifted with are also our gifts to you. Our comb represents the precious and sacred nature of caring for your physical selves. In acknowledging that your bodies deserve time and reverence, there is a ritualistic element to all beauty routines that can be lifted out of the mundane and commercial world and into the sacred, making your bodies an honored temple which you love and respect and demonstrate gratitude for. By honoring your body, you honor most deeply your soul and the spark of life itself. It is time to tell yourself of your beauty. It is time to care for your beauty, to undertake rituals for the skin, the hair, and the teeth, but ones which enhance your own unique self. It's time to use pure natural products. It's time to create of your form that which you feel to be a pure expression of your own self. For within that self lies the beauty of you. Yeah, these can all be such triggers for folks. That is so true. The perfect medicine. You're welcome. So I found the page about the Selkie, and I want to read this because it's I think it's really beautiful. It says, to receive this card is to receive a message from the most wise and kind of mermaids that you who are now reading this must return to the form in which you are free. Because the tale of the Selkie is that of a creature who has been captured, who has had their deep wildness tamed, who has in some ways fallen into an amnesiac state, simply in order to deal with the loss. It seems that if you remember all that has been taken from you, your heart could break and your will could die. The Selkie's story is for all of us who have forgotten our strength, our freedom, our right to choose again and again our delight in life. So the Selkie speaks very deeply of the divine feminine and the innate need for women to be free in choosing who to be with, to be free even in raising their children, to have sisters to dance with, and to worship beneath the moon. It speaks of the crime of seeking to possess and to capture anything that is free, and of keeping us from the element of water, from our womb's sanctity, from our emotional watery selves, to keep us on land rather than in the flow. So yeah, that deep, deep wildness, right? That we lose connection with because, we're told not going to accept that, not acceptable, not good. And that kind of rejection, again, is also a loss because then we go into hiding, or a piece of us goes into hiding, which that's such a huge part of this grieving process that so many people are going through, this reclaiming of their divine feminine or divine masculine, or claiming of a part of themselves that we give up so we can make sure we get paid to do our job, or that we don't lose a social circle and then feel like we're alone and left to the sharks. You know what I mean? Again, it comes back to that tribal instinct that we have, that piece of us that connects survival with the tribe, right? Hi, Chris. I'll pull a card for you as well, and then in a few moments we will get to our meditation. Okay, Chris, what do the mermaids want you to know today? Oh, I don't like this card. I'm going to show it to you, but I think I'm going to pick another one. It's sacrifice, number 11. There are those worth making and those that will destroy you. I feel like this is a really dark card, but I feel like what this card is asking you is, how are you making yourself sacred in your life? And what are you making sacred in your life? And, because to sacrifice means to make sacred. So sometimes, we make sacrifices that are like the Selkie, where we totally lose ourselves. And then they're the kind of sacrifices where we gain ourselves. You've been getting darker cards. Yeah. But I feel like with the, and I love what you have to say. I'll read this. Dr. April says, I don't like how sacrifice has been co-opted rather than making sacred. Instead, I think it's about investment. Yeah, sacrifice is such an interesting, this is, again, really goes into the Selkie perspective or framing of especially if we compare how the male Selkies guard and protect their skins and the females just let them, whatever, toss them off onto the rock, like, oh, You know what I mean? There's something about that. I think looking at this patriarchal view of women that many of us still, it exists inside us as an archetype. There's no doubt in my mind. It's been so like put on us to, someone else will take care of you, someone else will protect you. And even beyond that, what do we sacrifice and what do we sacrifice for and what do we protect? Something that is of great value. So again, I think it comes back to, yes, how are you valuing yourself? How are you valuing your magic, your beauty, your gifts, everything that you have to offer in that full spectrum of what the Selkie represents, right? That wildness, the untamed, the undomesticated, the real essence of you is the part of you that is the most valuable. So it's just, again, it's just a deepening into this conversation and for us to walk away with today. How am I valuing and making sacred my true essence, which maybe nobody really sees very often or at all? And that doesn't mean, we show it, but having a person in our life we could show that part of ourselves to, or a group of people, right? That's, having that pod, whatever, it could be a group of women, it could be your beloved, who can you be with and be the dark and the light, be the wild and the nutty, nutty not in crazy, but nutty as in silly, and maybe even the angry side of ourselves, right? I just feel like this card, and it looks like there's like a confrontation with the shadow. A confrontation needs to happen where we're so, and I know, and I'm of course talking a lot from my own experience, I don't want to project on anybody, but and we can, please leave your comments and what you think, but I feel like this confrontation I'm having with myself around the things that I know I'm not being real about in my life, in my work, and things that I'm afraid of revealing, because if I say this thing that's so truthful and so this and so that, it reveals a piece that's very vulnerable, that wants to hide, that doesn't want to be attacked, right? So I think Chris, I feel like that card is really calling for you to have that perspective of what is confronting you in your life, in the mirror of your life, to at least be totally honest and truthful with yourself and have that space to just really acknowledge it and say, wow, that is a really valuable part of myself. Hey, Chris, I feel like I'm going to pull you another one. It feels like there's another one that wants to come out. So. Oh yeah, this came out for Angie too on the bottom of the deck when I did her reading, Imrama. It says Wonder Voyage, Crossing Deep Waters, Pilgrimage Journey of the Soul. So yeah, Chris, you are definitely at the space where you are ready to take this very deep journey of the soul and being, I love that dolphin there, being led by your intuition, being led by your emotions and feelings, and allowing them a space and allowing them to direct and guide you to these new waters. She looks like you. It's a beautiful picture. I'm sweating now. Sorry, guys. I have a little bit of a cold and I think I have a little bit of a fever. So I'm I'm schwitzing over here. I'm schwitzing. I've got a tube top on, I swear. A tube dress. All right. So now that I'm cooling off, I'm trying to get cold in a minute. So any other thoughts that you guys have that that's coming up for you? And I think today would be a great day to do some journaling around all these topics because they're quite, they're quite heavy, right? They're not the run-of-the-mill, happy, joy, sexy mermaid talk, right? Which I think is good because I think that's what's called for in our circles right now. It's so called for us to be real with ourselves. It's not necessarily even about being real with other people, but real with ourselves and making that connection consciously. And that could be the medicine, right? Especially all this eclipse energy, which is just like, oh, I'm still suffering from an eclipse hangover. So I'm hoping, I hope, and I have a very strong optimistic feeling that next week I'm going to be. Dr. April said, so powerful, Chris. These seem to be the themes of the day. Also still feeling the eclipse hangover you described, Jinx. And I think it's cracked us wide open. Yes, Dr. April, so true. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, we need to be cracked open from time to time. I'm ready for a long beach vacation. I think that's what we all need, right? Let's just meet somewhere on a nice, warm beach. Okay. Chris likes that idea too. Yeah, beach. All right, so we're going to do our meditation ritual with the Selkies, and you're going to meet your Selkie guide. And all you need to do is relax, close your eyes. You can lay down, you can sit, however you're comfortable. And we'll do our little magical connection here with the imagination. All right. Taking nice, slow, deep breaths. Filling up your lungs and feeling everything just leave your body that's tense, that's numb even, just feeling the warmth and the energy coming back into every piece of your body. And imagine that you are on a beach on the island of Orkney. Well, one of the islands. And there's seagulls and seals in the water. Beautiful clouds drifting in the sky. And you hear this beautiful song, the sound of a woman singing in the beautiful Celtic Gaelic language. It's so haunting and beautiful, and the wind is beginning to pick up and blow your hair around. Magic is in the air. And off in the distance, you begin to hear sounds of women laughing and water splashing. Such a beautiful, playful sound. When it's coming from out in the water and you gaze out, at first you don't see much of anything except the deep blue of the waves, catching the little bits of the setting sun. And as the sun goes further down on the horizon, and the waters become a little bit more dark, the moon rises and begins to illuminate the magic in the water. And you see these beautiful, shiny, wet seals leaping in the waves. And the laughter is clearly coming from them. And you find a seat on a rock close to the scene and watch these playful beings who are seal and at the same time something otherworldly and mystical. Keep breathing nice and deep, allowing the breath to reach your toes even, filling up every inch of your body with breath. You feel so delighted that you laugh to yourself, drinking in this joy that is embodied in this view right in front of you. And you notice all of a sudden it is quiet, realizing that the seals heard your laughter. And they're now just staring at you, totally still, with their deep brown amber eyes, just watching you silently, their heads bobbing up and down gently on the waves. And you stare into their eyes, and you feel this communion, this noticing of each other, this witnessing of each other. And they begin to swim to shore and one by one wiggle their way up the sand towards you. And there are 12. Of course, we know that they're not just seals. As they begin to wriggle out of their skins and emerge wet and glossy as luminous women. And you look at them and they look at you in this utter amazement and reverence. These are the Selkies coming now to enjoy the feeling of Gaia beneath their feet and to play with you and bring you into their pod, into their magical group. Their skin is white as milk and hair black as coal. They're all smiling at you as they are fully naked and form a circle around you with you in the center. One of the Selkies is clearly the leader, and she walks up to you and speaks. Oh, my darling, you are one of us, untamable, wild and free. Be with us now in the dance of cosmic love and delight. Drink in this moonlight and smile and laugh deep from your belly with the twinkling stars shining from your eyes. She takes your hand and pulls you into the circle, which is now a circle of 13, the sacred number of the goddess. And the other Selkies are laughing and smiling and looking at you from their deep, soulful eyes. And each glance, each smile, each laugh feels like a homecoming, a return to your true authentic nature. And you begin to dance and move and sway, first slowly and then skipping lightly and frolicking within this circle of beautiful, luminous Selkie women. And your heart begins to melt open more and more. And you feel new movement emanating from your body, which feels foreign because you've forgotten your original dance, because this is your dance, the dance of your birth, the dance of your unique DNA, of your unique blueprint and soul here on the planet. But your soul has never forgotten this dance. It was inside you all along. And you feel ecstasy as you give your body the freedom, perhaps for the first time, to express its true nature. Cast away your old skins, the Selkie Queen declares. Be one with your raw, naked soul. Feel the air touching your authentic soul self. Be free. Liberate every part of yourself that feels captive, trapped, caged. Shed it off and place it into this shell. She places a large shell in front of you. And as she does this, ghostly images of you, or actually of who you have been in this life, dance in front of you. And they come out of this shell one by one. And as you look at each of these images of yourself, ask yourself if this is truly you now in the present, the you that you've decided to be. No matter what society has told you, no matter what your friends, family, your beloved, your mother, your brother, your sister, your best friend, not what they've told you that you are, but what you've decided to be. And maybe one of these pieces will feel like a piece of yourself that you've lost touch with. And maybe you want to reach out your hand to this image and invite her to take her place back in your body. And this image coats herself over you like a beautiful new skin. Remember to continue to take nice deep breaths as you're feeling these new skins flowing upon you. And if there is an image that arises of yourself, maybe it's a past self that was disempowered or shamed or abused in some way, you can actually ask her to stay in this shell where you can send love and nurturing as this part of you heals. So in this meditation of discernment and this dance of liberation, just allow the images, the sounds, the feelings to arise spontaneously. And it's up to you to ask it to stay and become a part of your skin, your new skin that is sparkling, that is the original essence of you. And you're merely adorning in this ritual your soul with the beauty that you are and that you choose. And then, of course, if any other images or parts of you arise that need loving, tender care, first place them lovingly in that giant shell to be healed and integrated later when it's the time for integration. There's no need to force anything. It's just your free will and your free choice of who and what parts of you you want to dance with and express right here, right now, in this moment. So I'm going to give you a moment of silence to continue this process on your own. Now the circle of Selkie slowly stops dancing, and you realize that you've been going all night long and the dawn is rising, casting pink and orange light upon the moonstone skins of the women who have taken you as their own, who love you exactly as you are and know and acknowledge your power. And you sense that this dawn marks a time of new beginnings, of new vigor, inspiration, and self-acceptance. Each of the Selkies embraces you and wraps you in their love and care. And you feel such a deep sense of belonging, of being whole and perfectly wild in your own way. And yet you're in this circle of others willing to accept you as you are in your full wildness, vulnerability, messiness, beauty, silliness, sadness, and fun. They put on their sealskins and return to their ocean home and watch them slowly swim off into the distance. Take some nice cleansing breaths again as we come back to the present moment, to the room we are in. Oh no. When I take deep breath, I start sneezing. Sorry. Oh, you take your time coming back. I'm going to get some water and sneeze a little bit more here. Gonna make some tea. I wish you guys were all here with me. We all have some tea together. Water's heating up. Angie, would you like to share any about your experience or any comments before we close our session? Thanks, Chris. Angie, I think you're muted. Nope. You got interrupted by work in the middle, of course. When you're trying to be wild, right? That's when they want to come and snag you back to the reality. Chris and Dr. April, if you want to put anything in the comments or speak on camera, you're more than welcome to. So, God, I was getting some channeled messages during that. So, oh, you're going to try to type fast. You had a great, Dr. April says you had a great visit with the fierce and free Lilith-like Selkie. Ooh, I love that. Feel free to tell us more. Yeah, as I was doing the meditation, I was getting like this them talking to me and sending me messages, and I'm hoping I'll remember it later because I was like, okay, I'm giving a meditation. I can't write this down right now. So of course and then if my head's, congested, so I'm a little out of it. So I can't remember exactly what they said, but it was towards kind of the end of the meditation that I really started getting some downloads. And I know that there's a movie about the Selkie called The Secret of Rowan Inish, and that's an older film. And then there's an anime film about the Selkies, and let me look it up. I don't remember the title. Song of the Sea. I think that's what it is. Because I think I watched this with Seraphina. Yeah. It's an anime that was done by Disney. Studio Canal. It was, yeah. You might be able to get it on Amazon. So Song of the Sea 2014, that came out, and Rowan Inish, The Secret of Rowan Inish. Is a very sweet, beautiful film. And I know it's been on Netflix, but I think that's another one you can get on Amazon if you can't find it on Netflix. So Dr. April said, one of my favorite books about wild women archetypes is called The Wild Mother by Elizabeth Cunningham. Elizabeth Cunningham is brilliant. It's just come out as the 30th anniversary edition, and she came to me to remind me how to be protective of the back of my heart. Wow. And there's another film with Colin Farrell. Okay. Thanks, Dr. April. Did Elizabeth Cunningham write the Mary Magdalene series? I'm trying to remember what the name is. The Maeve stories, yes. Those are some of the best, like the Maeve Chronicles or whatever. Yeah. Look up Elizabeth Cunningham. She's absolutely brilliant. I think she passed, though. I don't think she's with us on the planet. I think she's on the other side. She's still alive. Okay. Who am I thinking of? I'm thinking of an author that passed that did Irish work, or maybe had an Irish name. I'll have to think about it. Okay. So Chris said, I had two images, a very confident, firm, yet sweet Selkie, and a younger, free spirit, and kind of annoyed as it seemed she had to be put in a box. So I moved them to the shell in the center for the future integration. Okay. Yeah, you might want to do some journaling around the younger, free spirit and connect with her and see, when you have some time to really see what she has to say to you. Our younger selves have often a lot to tell us, right? Ondine is the film. I remember Ondine. That was a good film. Okay, beautifuls. Chris says, I feel the first one is very related to the card meaning of today. The confident, firm one. Yeah, it sounds like about valuing yourself. Yes, that's like an ongoing book, right? Valuing ourselves. Mm. So gorgeous, gorgeous women. Yeah, April says so powerful. Thank you, Chris, for sharing that. Yeah, I feel like I have some really good energy to just sink into as I'm going to rest probably the rest of the afternoon. I have guests coming in from out of town on Saturday, so I was like, oh, I'm going to clean on Thursday. So I probably will wait till this evening. But I always feel better when I'm with my women, with my tribe. And so I thank you for being here and spending this time with me. And I know your time is precious too. And I honor you and I feel so blessed. So I will feel better. Thank you, Angie. Let's all have a beautiful healing weekend. And I will be sending an email with the recording of this, obviously, and with the Zoom information for, I think we have a ceremony. I know we have at least one crowning ceremony next weekend. It might be the last meeting. I'm not sure, but there'll be more. Okay, ladies, have a great one. Bye. Thank you. Happy Mother's Day to you too, Angie. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Dr. April.